We're here all weekend. We're out here in Ohio canvassing, trying to get people registered to vote, mobilizing over 300 people have arrived here. Is that right?
It was at least 300, yeah.
That's way more. I mean, we were together in Georgia with Destiny when we were doing the stuff down there. This is more than double that, isn't it? Double those numbers?
It feels like it, yeah, for sure. It's a huge room of people, yeah.
We have over 20 streamers, over 300 people. We have Progressive Victory working a lot to get a lot of new canvassers out to vote. And that's the main thing I took away from today, is that the majority of the people I've seen have never canvassed before. And I've done a lot of local politics canvassing. I went to South Carolina to canvass for Bernie, and most of the people out there are people who have been doing it forever. People who are super invested, have been doing election after election. This is the first time I've been to a canvassing event, I think, since Georgia, so this seems to be a trend, where a bunch of people who are regularly inside, not going out to go do this type of activity, are doing it, and that's really impressing me.
Yeah, everybody I talk to is saying, I have not canvassed before, I was inspired to come out, I want to get involved, caught up in all the energy that's going on right now. And these are, like you said, these are young people. A lot of these people, usually you go canvassing, it's a bunch of older folks that have been around the block a few times. So,
people in retirement.
Yeah, and it's, canvassing's tough, you knock on someone's door and they're not that interested, but you're out there, you're involved in the energy and the excitement, and you're just meeting other people that are interested in what you're interested too. So I think it's just a great experience. It's super cool.
So, especially with this crowd, because I think a lot of people, when they were thinking about getting this crowd out in public to knock on real working class people's doors, some people are like, oh, these are streamer audiences. These are people who are like Twitch neets or YouTube neets. But a lot of these people, some of them, I think, have experiencing real social anxiety or kind of evolving out of their shell.
Yeah.
And even if they have like maybe one or two bad experiences with a voter, get the door slammed in their face, that isn't discouraging them. They keep on going and having these real flesh and blood interactions, which is fantastic to see these people getting out of their shell.
Yeah, I always say, like, it's not just about giving to the community and like trying to get someone elected or handing out literature, but you're also getting something too. And I think part of it is like what you said, that you're getting out of your shell and you're stepping out of your comfort zone. But everybody walks away very like positive, with a positive experience. I haven't heard one person say, oh man, it sucked and I'm not coming back.
I regret coming out here.
Yeah, and it's rare that somebody slams a door or something like that, because usually you're just not going to answer your door if you're in a real bad mood.
Yeah, I mean, so far we've only had one car accident. Things are going fantastic.
Only one person died. So.
Nobody's died. But yeah, I mean, and even that person, he seemed excited. He was like, yeah, I got in a car accident, but we were registering people to vote. It was fantastic. And I think for a lot of people, though, when I'm having these conversations, some people are getting discouraged by the fact that they individually haven't convinced somebody. And they're like, oh, but I went in this one area and nobody wanted to come out and all these doors weren't accessible. I don't feel like I did anything. And something that I'm trying to get across to these people is someone has to take it on the chin. When you go to these doors that are not accessible because there's dogs that are gonna scare you away, or there's no trespassing, or the people there are just grumpy and they don't want to talk to you, somebody has to knock on the door, find out that they're grumpy, find out that you can't access it, take it on the chin and make it easier for the next person so they can avoid it and register the people that can actually access. So even for the people that aren't like convincing everyone but are getting, the worst role possible, they're still contributing. In a way, I would say it's easier for the people who are able to convince people. It's easier for them than the ones taking on the chin. They're taking one for all of us.
Yeah, and even if you don't interact with somebody, I've read that leaving a piece of literature on their door increases turnout by 1%.
Do 100 doors.
Yeah, I mean, that can make the difference in an election too, right there. Do you want to talk about it all, Dylan? Like, what's at stake in Ohio? Like, why are these people knocking on doors? I mean, I know we're out here registering people, encouraging people to register to vote, but there are some big races, and Ohio plays a big role in our national politics.
I mean, in Ohio specifically, it has been, historically, my family came from Ohio. My grandfather was a steel worker in Ohio before the Chinese steel came in, then he skedaddled. And then a lot of the union jobs left, and that's when you started to see a lot of the right-wing, more Republican turn. Not the only contributor to it, but a lot of the issues here, and I think one of the big things that has motivated a lot of people I've talked to, the local Ohioans, is seeing how the Republicans responded to the popular majority when they had the referendums. When they had the referendums on legalization of marijuana,
Last year.
They had the by the way, pot's legal in Ohio. Hell yeah. They had the legalization of recreational marijuana, and when they were the majority of voters said, hey, we believe in a woman's right to choose. We believe that they should have access to, abortion, be able to access that. The Republicans decided, never mind, we don't like that. You have to get even a larger percentage, and they tried to reverse it.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people that I'm interacting with, that was a real wake-up call for them, because they truly realized that their interests or what they want specifically doesn't matter to somebody who's controlled by either the anti-abortion lobby or controlled by lobby groups trying to push them against the legalization of marijuana, that they choose those lobby groups over them. And that motivated a lot of the people I talked to today.
Those were huge wins that we saw last year. 13% to legalize marijuana. I think the similar margin, winning by 13% to have a right to abortion.
Not even close. Curb stompings.
Right, and so the energy's on our side, and this is a state that Trump won by 8%. I think both in 2016 and 2020. So it's been considered a pretty red state. We only have one statewide office, I believe, with Sherrod Brown, the senator who's running for re-election. But the energy's on our side right now, and so to invest in a state like Ohio, I think it's awesome. Why give up on any state? And so it's just exciting to be out in a place like this for someone like me coming from California where there's not much going on. I feel like this is a place where something can happen.
I do think, I think a lot of people have counted Ohio out, and I think we shouldn't count Ohio out. I think when you count Ohio out, you're going to take the L no matter what. And what you just said about Trump winning in the last few elections. But then when you look at the issues and you have a referendum on legalization of marijuana, Trump and his lobbies, the ones that support him and the people around him, are heavily against the legalization of marijuana. It was Trump who installed the Supreme Court justices that helped overturn Roe versus Wade. But then when you ask Ohioans, just like when you ask the majority of Americans, did they like Roe versus Wade? Yes. Do they like allowing a woman to have that type of bodily autonomy? Yes. And because we win on the policy issues, plastic IRI, we, of course, have me as well. I think I'm fantastic. We have Destiny. We have Supreme. We have loaner boxes here. We have Irrelevant. We have Pixie. We have Wick. We have Alec Gunter. We have Aristotle, what's his name? Socrates. A lot of the smaller OG political streamers.
Okay.
But I think we have like 20 different content creators all together. We have TikTokers who have come here. A lot of young TikTokers.
YouTubers like Josiah, who's just been exploding, pondering politics.
Yeah, congratulations to him, by the way. He's figured out a good formula.
Yeah, we're all so happy. But we're going to have some guests like coming in as well. We'll chat with some people as time goes on. But this is kind of like free flow, guys. We're going to bring in the D-Man soon, I think, to chat with him a little bit about what's going on here with the canvassing. And I don't know. Is there anything specific about this event else that you wanted to talk about or anything?
Anything specific about this event? I just want to redouble on the point that this group of people that are coming out specifically, I think it's impressive that they've been able to come out, because a lot of these people are introverts. A lot of these people are people who prefer to stay home, play video games, do that type of stuff. And so there had to be something particularly motivating to get them out there. And of course, interacting with streamers is one point, but if you get all this political knowledge online all the time, if you never take it out and apply it in the real world, it's political hobbyism. And seeing all these people make that jump from political hobbyism to using the knowledge they've garnered from years of watching these conversations online in the real world, that is such a positive thing to see. And it makes me feel like that a lot of these conversations we've been having online are actually bearing some fruit in the real world, in the flesh and blood.
Yeah, I feel like people are kind of missing out if they don't apply this to the real world and just keep it online, right? So, and honestly, I think the streamers are like one of the smallest draws for these kind of events, because everybody's just having a lot of fun hanging out with each other, all the community members that are out here. So I get inspiration from their energy. I think it's really cool to see all these mostly young people out here knocking doors. And this is also a chance for us, the online community, not just the streamers, but for like the community members to demand attention and say, we've got something, we've got motivated people, interested people, and they want to aim that at something. And so I feel this is a chance for us to command more resources from like DC in general, like elected officials and whatever organizations are out there. Come get involved with us. We got something good here.
It's a very empowering experience to go out and get directly involved in politics. And for a lot of these people, I think that it's also super important just for the health of our democracy. When you go out and you knock on someone's door, you might not convince them. You might convince them, you might not. You might move them a little bit. But there's a certain importance for the health of our society in not seeing these values that are often lambasted twisted or smeared, or I would say the progressive movement that is often mischaracterized in the press or on cable news, particularly the more like vitriolic type of news. That social environment is very different than what people experience in the real flesh and blood. When somebody smiles at you, looks in your eye and says, yeah, I do believe in universal health care, or yeah, I do believe that a woman should have the right to choose, and it's not the baby murdering, deep state, horrible lizard people that they've been led to believe on a lot of these vitriolic social media platforms whose algorithm prioritizes hateful rhetoric, prioritizes vitriolic rhetoric over that type of constructive dialogue. I think that's important for the health of our democracy. So this isn't just about this election, it's also about making sure that we can all live together.
Yeah, it's so nice to get off the internet sometimes, because negativity gets promoted and it gets a lot of attention, and so you can kind of get stuck in this dark place. And so coming out here and meeting and hanging out with people and being positive is really helpful for everybody. And they've got a hell of a race here with Sherrod Brown running for re-election. This is a Democrat who's in a red state. He's the only Democrat that can win. He's got a real chance of winning re-election, and I would say fate of us controlling the Senate depends on that, us being the Democrats. And right now it's a 50-50 split with Joe Manchin retiring, and so we need to hold on to this seat.
And Larry Hogan, I'm from Maryland. Larry Hogan, who was the former Republican governor of Maryland, just announced he's running for Senate. So that's potentially another seat. That's Ben Cardin's seat, which we thought was solid, we thought was safe. But because it's Larry Hogan, and for whatever reason, the Maryland population has decided to go into a long-term romance with the person who killed the Red Line to Baltimore, from the person who has done a ton to undermine funding into public education when it comes to us trying to reform our education system in Maryland. For whatever reason, they have entered into this long-term love agreement with him, and now it's really competitive. So all these Senate races are only becoming more competitive as another election, another possible flip of a Republican Senate seat is now on the national stage.
Yeah, and then this is one that we can actually hold on to. So if we can make this one a little easier and spend less resources, we're going to have to deal with now a new competitive race in Maryland. So it's a tough map that we have in the Senate, but honestly, a lot of it goes right through Ohio with Sherrod Brown. So this seat is super important. This state is going to play a big role in our 2024 election.
Ohio is going to be a deciding factor on who controls the Senate come 2024. And while a lot of people don't think Ohio's quote-unquote in play, a lot of time if you just count it out, that is what will make it not in play, like I said earlier. But Sherrod Brown very much can win this race, but we're going to have to devote the manpower hours, we're going to have to devote the resources to do it. We cannot just count it as it's Sherrod Brown, he's popular, he's got pro-union sentiments, he's generally popular compared to Democrats in the state. Don't take any of these victories for granted. Taking victories for granted is how we get people like Donald Trump.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, this is an exciting race. It's cool to see so many people start to get energized. And I feel like with the canvassers that we've met so far, and we're going to get to meet some and chat with them here on the stream, so that's going to be cool. These guys have been looking for a place to put their energy.
Yes.
And they came from all over the country. I met people that came from Florida, California, Virginia. One guy told me that he was in a carpool, that they picked him up halfway and then drove a couple hours. I mean, it takes some dedication to get in a car with some strangers, even if they are from the same community.
I heard one guy came from Scotland.
Oh yeah,
that's weird. I can't believe someone would do that. That's a far raid. We're getting foreign infiltrators of our democratic system. Can you believe that?
Sure.
Loaner box. But another thing that I've noticed with these canvassers specifically is a lot of people online, when it comes to them getting angry after they see a YouTube video about something that angers them about abortion, whatever it is, for a lot of these channels, it's the anger only exists to then send you to another video to get you more angry. So you research more and you dig a deeper and deeper hole until you're like in a depressive fit where your only vent is to get more angry. Whereas a lot of channels are specialized and try to keep you there, keep you angry, keep you watching. If you vent those people out of there to take that frustration and make it in the real world and ground it in, local elections or county, school races, whatever it is, then they're doing that instead of watching the YouTube videos. And so I feel that a lot of the reason why we haven't had more events like this with online political commentators getting people mobilized is because of the financial incentive.
Yeah.
And so that's why we also need to make sure to try to utilize these resources more and try to bring this online. It's great. It's fantastic, but it's only political hobbyism until you bring it IRL.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like people are really missing out on the full experience, shall we say, because we all care about this stuff, right? Obviously, if we're watching videos and tuning into streams about politics all day long, it means something to us. But if you don't go out into the real world and connect and actually do something besides voting, then you're missing out on the full experience. So let me see. So we're supposed to bring people in here at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see what time it is. Okay, we made it through the first. Did we do half an hour? I think.
I think we're at 3:30.
3:30.
I guess we should be ready for the first guest.
Okay,
then,
yeah. Who do you want to bring on first?
Who are we
here?
bringing on?
Are we bring both of them or one at a time?
Steve, you want to go up or? Yeah, always.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
I'll jump over here on this side. We're gonna bring in some guests.
Hello.
Hello?
Woo!
So you came overseas to infiltrate our country. Why?
Foreign interference? Someone's going to do it.
Understood.
You're getting
Understood.
accused of it, you might as well. No, I don't know. I got asked to come here. American politics is kind of important to most countries. It's always happening here. It's always happened to my friends with a potential Trump re-election, and thought, just trying my best to stop that from happening.
Is this your first time in Ohio?
Yeah.
First time in the States?
No, I've been to New York, I've been to Georgia, never Ohio.
What's your impression of Ohio?
Yeah, I can understand it. It's all.
You can understand it.
Yeah, like every state's really different.
What's understandable about Ohio? What do you mean by that?
Like,
What do you think about the Ohioan people?
I haven't met many Ohioan people, but I've met some of the local
Yeah.
canvassers. Yeah, they seem pretty engaged.
What's different about Ohio compared to every other state you've been to?
South was very gun.
The state of South?
Yeah, Texas. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I don't
yeah.
see many open carries over
Okay.
here, so I'm used to that.
Are there any similarities between the people in Ohio or just in America in general to people in Scotland?
Scottish people are they're the opposite. They're very rude and uncivil, but friendly. They'll swear at you, they'll call you bad things and all that, but they're always friendly. That's kind of how it goes. But I feel like,
Turn it up. Here you go. Hold it to the blue light.
Technical difficulties.
You got a blue light? Good.
was I just not being heard before?
I think
Oh,
you
no.
were quiet. Yeah. Don't worry, you're good.
They got you.
So I can just answer the same question again. Ohio? Yeah.
What do you think of Ohioans compared to the Scottish kilt wearers?
I think there's a good match. Ohio downtown looks quite similar to Scottish cities. I didn't really expect that. You know, apart from the town I come from, all the buildings are grey, because it's all granite. That's what we used to have over there. But over here, it's nice, refreshing to see different colours on the buildings. I'm very easily impressed as a Scot.
So you're coming from overseas to this event, and you're looking at the United States from overseas, from an outside perspective. How do you see this race going into 2024 as a non-American?
I feel like in the UK, I don't really see as much engagement from young people in politics, like in Scotland especially. Yeah, as far as live streamers and that kind of thing go, we didn't really have that much of that at all over there, at least in Scotland. So
Is it Scottish politics or American politics they don't care about?
both, really.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more the impression, because I think in Scotland we've got it quite unique, where we've had one party in charge since about 2010. And they're kind of losing support now, but we've never really had conservatives in Scotland for a really long time. So there's a bit of complacency. People who are quite further left just go to the Greens, and that's fine because our parliament's very representative. It's very hard to get an absolute majority. Greens actually have a coalition with the Scottish Nationalists. So if you're a progressive in Scotland, you're kind of doing as well as you can. We don't really have that same. In England, it's very different because they've got conservatives since 2010, but we don't really have the thing of the urgency of swing states and having to keep out someone. You've got one side that believes in the system and the other side that doesn't. That's we haven't really had that problem.
Could you highlight that? You said one side believes and one side doesn't believe in the system.
Well, because a pretty alarming number of Republicans don't even think the last election was legitimate. That's a very unique problem in a modern democracy, you know? We don't have that in the UK, conservatives have their own thing, but they don't say the election was fake. They don't have big crowds trying to overturn the results of an election. And I think,
Jeremy Corbyn didn't storm the Capitol.
No, he did not. He held his head down, walked away, said that he won the argument.
Did he say, was that, wait, what?
That was their line. They
Say
said they won, because they went on a few polls that just said, well, some of these Labour policies were actually they just didn't like the party or the leader. So Yeah, we tend to go quietly over in the UK.
Destiny, what do you think about the people of Ohio?
I think they're good people, or
Good.
strong people.
Strong people,
Yeah.
down to earth.
Have any critiques?
What do you negatively think about them?
Too close to Kentucky.
What's wrong with Kentucky? Not good people.
They're a different type of people.
Okay.
You've got a civilized Midwestern people, and you've got an uncivilized Midwestern
Wow.
people. Kentucky represents the uncivilized Midwestern people,
Wow.
I would say. Not like the great citizens of Ohio.
What makes Kentuckians uncivilized and makes Ohioans so civilized in comparison?
Incest.
You heard it here first.
Wow.
Progressive victory.
Sponsored by.
Sponsored by.
What do you think about like coming here to Ohio?
Gonna have elected officials on later.
What do you think about like coming here to Ohio? Do you think we can win Ohio? It's been like red for a while.
Well, you were saying we had a chance, so I hope
I think so, but you know, you live in a different. You have your own perspective.
I'm in DeSantis town, so my brain is completely poisoned. I don't even know which direction it's poisoned in now, actually. Wait, didn't he just get a favorable ruling about some of the Disney stuff, or no? Is that like completely buried?
I didn't catch that.
I thought I heard something about it.
I do not care about the Disney stuff. I can't be bothered.
I think there's been some encouragement in the local Ohio stuff. The fact that the Republicans tried to change the voting thresholds, that you needed supermajority to get things passed through the state, but then that didn't go through. Then the abortion protections came in with like 57%. So,
Do you think that referendums on certain policies are indicative of a population switching like to support another party? So when we saw in Ohio for referendums on abortion or referendums on marijuana, when these things pass, do you think that's an indication that the state is like moving in a different direction? Do you know historically if that's been the case for other states?
I don't know historically, but I would say it seems like one side is failing. So like the Republicans don't seem to be having on the right side of the issue. Does that mean those people are going to vote for Biden? Not necessarily, but the energy's there, the organization, the outreach. And so I think that does have some impact on people voting. What do you think?
I think it depends on what issues is dominating the campaign. It's part of the reason why Trump sunk the immigration bill, is because if he can keep the issue on immigration, when you poll Americans, most people know that Trump's been hitting this forever. It's like with Geert Wilders. Once immigration became the main issue in the Netherlands, even if people didn't agree with Geert Wilders on, you know, the economy or any of these other issues, if you're gonna get somebody to deal with immigration, pick the original. And so if he can keep that issue vibrant, then Trump can dominate. But if the issue is health care, and we saw his health care proposal, which is, I'll show it to you later, actually no, just get rid of Obamacare with no replacement. If those are the issues that we focus on, if those are the issues that can theme the campaign, then I think Democrats can do better. If marijuana legalization and abortion is what themes the campaign, Democrats are going to have high turnout, and I think they can win.
that kind of cynicism is just insane, though. The fact that like they have this problem that they will run on because it's what makes them popular, but they don't actually want that problem solved.
The issue is that
Depending on when,
Republicans, the problem is they have no platform.
Right.
Because they jumped off the populist
Literally, by the way,
bandwagon.
didn't they not?
Yeah,
don't they keep just renewing the last year party platform?
Yeah, they just
again
don't have
and again?
like if you're voting for it's funny because people will say that like Trump inspires hatred, but I feel like truly at this point if you're voting Republicans, you're just voting like not for the Democrats, not for the woke people, not for the globalists, not for that. But like if you truly ask like, well, what is Trump going to do differently?
I always
Tweet
wonder,
more? I mean, like
how do you? So here's what I wonder is because I was doing some research for Ohio, and I remember, for some reason I just got stuck on this interesting story about the bridge that connects Ohio to Kentucky, the Brent Spence Bridge. I think that's what it's called, yeah. And it's falling under the infrastructure bill. It's getting like 1.6 billion in funds. It's like one of the worst bottlenecks in the country, second worst. And even today, one of the young canvassers is a student who goes down across that bridge every day, and he's like very grateful that it's finally getting like repairs. But then one of the Ohio Republicans, he was telling me, voted against the infrastructure bill, but now he's bragging about and taking credit for this bridge that's getting redone.
don't Republicans in Congress do that shit all the time?
They
Vote
did
down
with the
8
CHIPS
packages and
Act
stuff,
the
and then brag
infrastructure bill. Yep.
They get to have it both ways a lot.
And how did Democrats
that.
combat that? How do you guys?
I don't know. The same thing, because obviously I've been doing the impeachment stuff more, but it was the same thing with Trump's impeachment, where a lot of Republicans are saying like, oh, well, you can't hold him criminally or civilly liable. But then they also said when you went to impeach him after he was out of office, oh, well, we can't impeach him because he's already out of office. Like they want to have it both ways on a lot of different things, I notice. It's kind of frustrating.
I think the immigration debate really just threw me for a loop because Biden offered them, in some opinions, even to me and to some progressives, stuff that was even too much. Stuff that even made some of us feel uncomfortable. giving them things that they've been requesting for more than a decade. Like the idea of stopping people from crossing from one country, like Guatemala, all the way to the United States because they could have stopped somewhere else. That type of reform is stuff that Republicans have been asking for forever. The vast majority of the negotiated deal was Republican priorities. If you talk to Dan Crenshaw or Senator Lakeford, who is an immigration hawk, he's the one who negotiated on the Republican side, they are in shock because these are priorities that all of their compatriots have been telling them that they needed to get through. That's what they were supposed to engage in with negotiations for Ukraine aid, and it sunk solely because they didn't want it to be a campaign issue. This is purely just politics over party.
I mean, if Republicans lose immigration, what do they possibly have to fight over?
Tax cuts.
Nothing right now.
Tax
Gay
cuts?
school books, maybe?
Don't they want to get rid of income tax in Ohio?
I mean, like
Republicans want
maybe,
that,
but
right?
like regardless, and the sentiment is finally catching up because it was a vibe session. It was, okay. It was a vibe session for a long time. Americans are finally starting to realize that Biden is presiding over like one of the strongest economies in the entire history of the United States, and especially over the next several months, like people have already woken up to it. People are going to continue to wake up to it.
And Federal Reserve going to be dropping rates.
Maybe, yeah, they might. They're talking about, ooh. That's just
Gas.
It's going to help.
When you've already got the majority of Americans like who refinanced their homes to like what, like 3%. I think this is the highest share of Americans that have ever had interest rates for mortgages that low.
Yeah.
In like the history of the United States is insane.
This is the longest. Well, there's just a few more data points to throw out there. This is the longest sub 4% unemployment rate since the 1960s.
2 years.
And Gas Buddy is predicting that by the end of this year, by December, gas prices across the country on average would be $2.99.
Yeah, so here's what I want to know is why are Democrats, or at least this is the impression I got, I could be wrong, but I feel like they don't sing their own praises very much at all. Like I was looking a couple of days ago just at some lists of like Democrat achievements in Biden's term or things that they're in the process of doing. And the amount of things I saw that just I've never heard of before, even though I feel like I watch American politics quite a lot. Like one of the examples was that they're in the process of getting rid of like mystery charges on like airline
Biden tweeted
transactions, things like that. And I think one of them was also like overdraft charges. I think because right now in America it's like $30 to $40 for an overdraft charge, but they're putting it like a break-even thing. So
you got to be really careful when you
yeah.
talk about like your victories, because if people view you as complacent, they hate you, and people see frustration way easier than they see victories. So like in a way, Hillary actually tried that exact counter. Remember when Trump was doing the "Make America Great Again" and Hillary was like, "America's already great," and people are like, "Fuck you, no, it's not." You have to be really careful because if Biden comes out and he's like, "Oh, I think we're doing really well right now," then any type of anxiety, even if it's not real, just perceived, Trump will jump on, or anybody. Oh, he thinks it's great. What about the 20,000, Chinese COVID plus immigrants coming down with, upgraded fentanyl from Chinese manufacturing labs and blah. Like they'll find any bit of like discomfort to harp on, or what about inflation?
Is this another like have it both ways though? Because when I saw Trump before the election, it's always we have the greatest economy, the greatest military, the greatest border.
Kind of, but he also always had the shadowy enemy to fight against. It was the deep state, always. He was talking about draining the swamp when he owned the whole swamp. He was the swamp creature, and it was all his campaign people, and he was still talking about draining it. And I'm like, these are your appointees.
I think you don't have to necessarily fix people's problems. If you can, that's great, but you have to let people know you give a damn, and you have to let them know, I hear you. You're not dismissing their problems outright, and I think that's what the lesson Democrats have learned a bit. And that's why Biden is saying, listen, I know people aren't feeling it yet, but it's coming. When it comes to the economy.
There are a lot of things that are benefiting right now, but if you're somebody who still feels the effects of the housing crisis, right? Biden can't just snap his fingers and all these houses are built due to local zoning laws, there's a whole sorts of things. And whether or not it's fair, a lot of these issues will be placed at the head of the federal government. If something happens to you, a lot of people come to the conclusion, president's fault. Who's in charge of the country? This happened.
You know what?
President.
You know
Great
what?
example of this, and this is the thing that really gets me. When the child tax credit died, people started complaining towards Biden, even though it was the Republicans who ended up killing the child tax credit. But whose administration did it happen under? Biden's. Therefore, Biden's fault happened under his watch.
It doesn't matter. The housing, renting stuff, I don't think it actually matters.
Really?
I think a lot of people complain about it on Twitter, but isn't it like it's like 70% of Americans are homeowners?
Yes.
More people have refinanced under low rates than at any point in fucking history. Rent, believe it or not, is actually falling in major cities. So you're talking about 30% of the electorate, most of whom are younger and don't fucking vote anyway, probably not even registered in the states they've moved to. They're not important.
Well,
he shouldn't. People complain about like rent and stuff all the time. You're like the minority of Americans. You're probably not electorally that relevant. It's just like, it's like expending so much political capital on like student loan debt or whatever. It's just like, it's a nice thing to do if you can. But those complaints, like if you were to ask, I feel like if you were to poll the average American on Twitter, what are the most important things in America? They'd be like student loans and the housing crisis or whatever. Like, but the reality is most Americans that have houses are doing really well. Their houses
ones
are
that have houses.
The ones
Yeah,
that
but that's
have
like
houses,
70%
it's hard
of
to get
Americans.
into a house,
It's a huge percentage of Americans that live in houses, and the homeownership rates are right where they're supposed to be for every generation. Like, they're fine.
So outside of
They're fine.
So
But
outside of
let's be clear though. Young people are supposed to be part of the Democrats' coalition. Young people are people who are heavily affected by the housing prices right now. And young people are the ones who are not able to buy houses at large rates. They're the ones that are feeling the pain under that.
Yeah.
And since they're part of our coalition, even if they're a smaller percentage of the overall population, we should care about their needs. Even if they're not part of our coalition, we should still care about their needs.
They need,
but especially if they're part of our coalition.
They need to have a realist. Listen, I'm starting to see Gen Zers tweet things like 20 years ago you could work a job and afford an apartment on your own and blah blah. And I'm old enough now to say 20 years ago minimum wage was $5.15 an hour. Fuck you. We were not buying apartments with full-time jobs at McDonald's in my day. That was not true ever.
But back now, maybe of course this is my experience for my local issues. But for me, interacting with NIMBYs as a young renter in my city is a horrible experience.
Yeah.
You're familiar with NIMBYs?
Not in my backyard.
And for me, I'm trying to build I want new apartments, I want new condos, I want new everything because I want my prices to go down. I want my prices to go down, but the NIMBYs are stopping it. And that, even though, again, it's not at the head of the federal government, that is something that's affecting places in LA, that's affecting areas in DC, and it affected people in my city. That's not a Biden problem, but that's a problem that is affecting young people.
So outside of the people you don't like on Twitter, what issues should Democrats be hammering on the hardest?
That the immigration stuff has to get fixed, I think, because that's when, even if you're not actually impacted by it, that's like people go on Twitter and they complain. Most Americans don't give a fuck. I don't think about like the housing shit or the student loan shit. It just seems like it on Twitter. I think the immigration is like a do or die thing that a lot of what was it, like 26 governors basically signed up with Abbott to go to fucking civil war with the U.S. government. That's
Send like a
insane.
couple troops down there.
That's insane.
Not
You got like
civil war.
National Guards being mobilized from other states. That's wild. Okay, now Biden's a better man than me because I would have taken the National Guard down there and arrested that guy and thrown him in jail. But the immigration thing, I think, is I don't think they can yank that chain for 8 months or 9 months till the election. But something has to change there because that's like the only perceived like flaw, I think, but you can legitimately point at Biden's administration and go, isn't this like really bad? Past immigration, I don't think there's anything big that anybody can point to besides like weird social issues or like abortion or something. If you're like pro-life.
Well, yeah, I mean, the immigration issue is not going to get solved between now and the election, so we do have to find some strategy to talk about because the bill's dead.
But at least if he pushes for it, at some point you can hold Republicans responsible, right?
Yeah, Biden's going to go out there and he's going to hammer
Exactly,
them.
yeah. We've got a bill, they won't sign it.
Right, they
There's a ton of-
refuse to take yes for
There's
an
a
answer.
ton of reporting right now. The Biden campaign is just sitting back and clipping every single clip from Dan Crenshaw, from anybody who's saying like, why did these negotiations fall through? We could have made a deal, and people heavily hammering it, and they're going to play it again and again and again come election day.
And it was
So a lot of the Republicans actually wanted that policy to go through, right?
It was a Republican
Dan
wish
Crenshaw
list.
wanted it. Langford wanted it. A lot of Republicans wanted
Well,
it.
they put this.
But they've explicitly said that they don't want to give Biden the
win.
political win.
That's all
which
it
is a
came down
very,
to.
very, very weird. It's literally the frog and the scorpion.
Yeah.
Did you see James Langford's speech on the House floor about it? He was the person who negotiated on behalf of the Republicans. He
Yes.
went out there. They had
Yes.
already abandoned him. Like Mitch McConnell had already said, "Fine, we're not really going to push it anymore." But he went up there and he, along with like a few other Senate Republicans, still pushed it because he, on principle, he negotiated. He knew it was a good deal. He's going to stand on it. He said, I came here to legislate, not here just to give press conferences, yada, yada, yada. But one thing in there really took me aback is when he said that there's a certain political commentator who told him that if he tries to find a compromise on this issue in an election year, that he will end him. And and the theory is that it was Steve Bannon.
Really?
But yeah, that's the theory at least.
I totally believe that.
Well, and he
Sounds like a very Bannon thing to say. How influential is Bannon still?
He's still pretty influential. His War Room gets a lot of viewership. I mean, it's alternative media, but it still carries
I mean,
a lot
so
of
is
weight.
Tucker Carlson
A lot
now.
of like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, like these people still, when they are asked to go on their show, they run to a show. So
I cannot wait.
In those circles, it has weight.
I can't wait for the Trump coalition to collapse. Oh, I'm so here for it.
I personally think some huge L's are coming in November. People can disagree if they want, but I think that's the beginning of the end. Of
He
the
can't
MAGA.
run again. He's too old. The
He'll be
Republicans are
convicted.
finally going to have to wake up and be like, God, we actually need more than like a fascist god emperor to run our party
Well,
now. Awkward.
Look at Nikki Haley. She's not backing down. I'm not saying she has a chance, but she seems to think she's onto something, and there's some people backing her up on it. So
This is the thing about Nikki Haley. She, like, if you check the betting data, she's at like 4% chance to win. But if something happened to make Trump not able to run, and
Right.
that's not impossible considering considering he's facing, what, like 91 charges, multiple of them felonies. He's going from court case to court case to court case with the dumbest lawyers around, lawyers only there to delay, not to actually win cases. And they keep failing to even get close to winning the case.
I think it's important. It's not that he has dumb lawyers. Sometimes he does. It's that those cases are unwinnable. Like, in the public, you've got people putting out all these arguments like, well, he can do this, and well, it's not actually legal, blah, blah. But in front of judges, his lawyers are like, okay, we really, honestly, we just can't hold him liable for anything. I think that's telling that those are the arguments that they're using.
I would say that part of the reason why they are dumb judges is because probably most judges are looking at all the cases in front of them and saying, I'm not taking this. You have no chance. You're going to lose.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I think that the merits of the cases, I think, are pretty strong. I think Trump is going to have a lot of trouble with a lot of these.
With the information we have now, you three think Trump should be allowed to run?
Yes.
No.
Well, I think technically he should be removed, but in this
just because of that amendment thing.
Well, in this political climate, if you remove him from the ballot, it's going to cause a lot of problems. Good. I mean, you're talking
Those
about
are
the lives
good
of
problems.
Americans.
That's like saying we shouldn't do chemotherapy because there's a lot of cancer in your body that might accidentally get killed by it. No.
Are you willing to? Okay, what if I told you 5,000 Americans?
I think we're memeing and joking right now, but the idea that Donald Trump still has as much support as he does amongst the Conservative Party is probably the most embarrassing thing, at least in my lifetime of being in this country.
And also how
that was literally an insurrection. Trump literally cheerleaded the whole thing, and he still has that much support from Republicans. That's unfucking believable. From the same people that were supposed to be the party of law and order, the party of supporting our police, and you watch videos of them fighting and beating the shit out of them on January 6th, the people that were supposed to support our intelligence services and blah, blah, blah. That's wild.
Called for the suspension of the Constitution?
Let me ask you,
that's insane.
What do you think's better for our democracy moving forward, to remove Trump from the ballot or let him get defeated at the ballot box?
I think the best thing is I think that at the end of the day, one of the most important things, there's two things that sets America apart from other countries. One is we've got one of the coolest constitutions ever. And two, we have institutions that rigidly uphold that constitution. When you start to make sacrifices of principle in exchange for political expediency, your reward is chaos. I don't think you can buy your way to a healthy republic by sacrificing rule of law in order to eke out small political victories to try to ignore the fact that you have like half your population are like insurrectionists supporting rebels.
But
that's just crazy to me.
You don't think it'd be better for the health of the republic if Trump lost in an election? Because it would at least
they don't even accept the results of the last election. You think they're going to accept the results of the next one? By the way, if you're a Republican listening, don't even bother voting. We've rigged like all the ballot boxes out here. Like, I've never seen so many fake ballot stuffers. Do you see when we were handing out the notes for the guys today? They had like 50 mail-in ballots each. It was insane. I think just in this district, we've already harvested like 7,400 ballots. 80% of the ballot voters are dead. Yeah, if you're a Republican, I wouldn't even bother voting. The election is already foregone, 100%.
Yeah, we were registering people's dogs today.
We're going for 38 states this time.
What we do is we open up the newspaper, we look at the in memoriam section and just start entering.
Exactly, because they're never going to fight because they're dead.
What do you think, Loner, from like an outsider's perspective? Like, what is the rest of the world thinking right now as we're about to get into election season here? Are they worried?
I mean, it affects everyone, right? Like, his foreign policy is so unpredictable, especially with all the conflict that's happening right now in Israel and everything. Like, that's to think that that there's just no predictable path that Trump would take on any of that compared to someone like Biden. That's like really scary.
So do they worry about Trump getting back into power?
Yeah, definitely, especially when you think about to think that at the beginning of the war with Israel and Gaza, there was some consideration for Israel to go to war directly with Hezbollah, to just take them out, like fight on two fronts. And Biden partly played a part in that not happening because of the aircraft carriers. But to think, like, Trump being the way that he is, like, maybe he would have done that, but maybe he would have actually encouraged it. And then obviously when Israel goes to war with Lebanon, that doesn't really work out very well, even if it's just those two. Then Ukraine, like with the idea of European security, of Trump thinking about coming out of NATO or pulling back on support to Ukraine. Well, that's how the Baltic states feel about that. Hungary, Poland, like Romania, Bulgaria.
Poland, the Polish Prime Minister Duda, like 2 days ago, tweeted out, Republicans, I'm ashamed of you. Reagan's turning in his grave for
I saw that tweet.
Yeah, I don't think people, even in the UK, it doesn't affect us as much, but like Trump in 2016 emboldened a lot of opinions and like kinds of people who had normally had their heads held down. And then Boris very much realized that populism was very popular, and then like the whole Brexit thing and the aftermath of that was very much like influenced by Trump's style of doing politics and like the way that Boris did his sound bites. And yeah, I don't know. And it's quite yeah, it affects everyone. So.
God, fuck. All these Americans that knew nothing about British politics were like the most pro-Brexiting people in the world.
Yeah.
And all these stupid fucking Brexiters were like the most like Trump-supporting fuckers in the world. God, fuck me, dude. What a dark era for the world.
Yeah, I do think we're living through history right now where people look back at like 2015 through maybe the next a year or so, 2025, and be like, what the hell, man?
Never thought I'd say it, but I miss the neocons. I even miss the Tea Partiers, just a little bit.
But that's what really, I think the scariest thing is maybe not so much the Republicans themselves, but it's the people who are so complacent and so tolerant of like everything. Because seeing you speak to Ben Shapiro, he clearly doesn't really agree that much with a lot of like Trump's extreme ideas, but he's tolerant of
Him
it.
saying,
and that's
because
so
the
scary,
fact that he's
yeah.
like, he's smart enough to realize that he is not going to be able to bullshit his way out of like Trump being a rebellious president, but him being like, yeah, he is rebellious, but like he didn't like succeed the first time, so he probably won't the second time, so I'll vote for him again.
We'll just grade him on a curve.
What an unbelievably crazy statement. The guy tried to overturn the election, but since it held, you're going to give him another run at it? Could you imagine like a Donald Trump presidency with like a Rudy Giuliani as like the attorney general? Like that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Vice President J.D. Vance.
Like it's not out of the possibility of things happening. He's insane, and I don't think Trump is going to make the same mistake next time if he were to win the election of like, oh well, if I just choose strong Republicans, they'll support me whatever cockamamie scheme.
You know what? Like you know who else did originally a very bad coup that no one took seriously afterwards?
Hitler.
Mr. Hitler, yeah.
Yeah, in the 30s.
And the conservatives in the early 30s were very much like, these guys are thugs, they're uneducated, they're gangsters, they're not going to handle like chancellorship and 2 government positions. We'll have them on a leash. It's like what the conservative guy von Papen literally said. We'll have them on a leash. A couple months later, you've got the Reichstag burning down, and I just think that like that's the thing that really irks me, is just like maybe not the extremists themselves, but the people who are just a little bit near them, who are willing to put up with that just to keep the enemies out.
That's why I'm really scared about what you said about like, oh well, wouldn't it be better if he just like lost at the ballot? I mean, like he shouldn't be fighting at the ballot.
It's one step closer.
Yeah, and it's just like he doesn't even deserve to be listed. That's just unbelievable.
I agree. On the merits, I agree. I just worry about those people that you guys described, those hardcore ones, and like...
Yeah, but again, they're not going to accept it if he loses.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the thing you said about complacency, though, that is something that's getting under my skin, because what I'm realizing is a lot of the conservatives who have stood on the same position forever, like people like, I disagree with them, but like Sebastian Gorka, they're getting dragged through the mud now, even though they used to be semi-popular, because they're just believing the same things they believed like 12 years ago. And the ones that do believe these things, you can see them bending and turning to kind of make sure they don't offend it. In that Ben Shapiro conversation, I told you this, we never got to talk about it. I was taken aback by how cowardly Ben acted around the Ukraine section when he was talking about aid. This is a moment where he can make the case to everyone on why Ukraine aid is important. And he spent the entirety of the conversation talking about how we had to limit aid, while aid has been blocked for like over 100 days in Congress. He should be talking to his own community, trying to communicate the value to the United States and to geopolitical security in Europe of supporting Ukraine. But instead, because it's not popular, he just makes the point, well, we can't do it forever, and says nothing else because it's not popular to defend aid to Ukraine.
Sure, and I wonder what his position was on like moving recognizing the embassy move to Jerusalem or recognizing the annexation of the Golan Heights, if he expressed as much hesitancy there, or if that was just like a full speed ahead, like, oh, this is great. Yeah. I hate people that say that Trump would be doing so much. What would Trump be doing with Ukraine, Russia right now? The guy that threatened to like disbar or leave NATO like 400 times and like didn't even understand. The problem with trying to guess what Trump would do is it depends on who's the last person whispering into his ear, and it depends on how everybody's feeling. I don't know if you guys remember Syria, but the flip-flopping on Syria. In the Middle East, right?
In the middle of the night, he announces that he's going to withdraw from Syria. Next day, there's a press conference. We find out it's because Erdogan called him and started pressuring him about the Kurds. And what's his explanation? Why we can't back up these allies who smashed ISIS into the ground. It's the thing he brags about all the time. We destroyed ISIS. Our bombs destroyed ISIS, but the guys who did the clearing was the SDF. What was his excuse? They weren't with us at Normandy, at D-Day. The Kurds weren't with us.
Kurdish people also did a lot of work clearing ISIS out of Iraq as well. They were a big part of the
Peshmerga.
Yeah, the Peshmerga. Yeah, they're from the KRG. Yeah.
But then the next day he flips again, and then a week later he flips again. He kept flipping back and forth, and that's the problem with Trump, is he has no concrete foreign policy beliefs. So all he does is beat his chest. We're going to kill the families. We're going to, bathe in their blood. That's also
because, not to sound weird, but in some ways, career politicians are nice because you've got like a solid track history of like, what does this guy support? What does he believe in? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Trump doesn't have policies. Like if you say like, is Trump like a war hawk or a dumb? It's like, I don't know. Trump is a New York City real estate billionaire. I don't know what the fuck his policies are, right? So I wouldn't even expect him to have a strong position on Ukraine, Russia, or Israel, whatever. To be honest, I don't think he can find most of these places on a map. I feel pretty strongly about that. I don't think he could. When you ask him, like, I don't know if he knows who Kurdish people are.
No. I mean,
He probably thinking like from Wisconsin.
Is that he learns about an issue and then he starts shooting at it from the hip.
Yeah, exactly. What feels right, basically.
Well,
yeah.
and even worse is the people who say, well, this would have never happened if Trump was president, right? Those people are infuriating. It's like, okay, well, we can say maybe COVID never happens if Hillary was president or something. Maybe 1 million Americans are alive, so we can all play this game.
Trump was a master of kicking the can down the road on everything. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Doha agreements set Biden up for failure in Afghanistan. We were drawn down to historically low numbers there. The Abraham Accords set the Israel-Palestine disaster up because the whole impetus for those starting was Netanyahu going to annex the West Bank, and then other countries, the Emiratis, I think the Saudis, like, oh well, hold on a second there, and they're like, okay, fuck it, let's just do this and not include the Palestinians at all. Like he even sunset a lot of the provisions for legislation on it was forgiving all of the FICA taxes, I think. Remember?
I don't remember.
No. There was during COVID, there was legislation that was passed, I think, to make it so that your FICA taxes weren't paid, but the provision sunset, and you'd have to retroactively pay them if it didn't get like expanded after Trump left. Like, the kicking the can down the road, and then people will be like, well, if Trump was the leader, then he would have had to pick up his own can. Sorry.
One last thing about the Ukraine thing and about Trump possibly stopping the invasion. Two things. Number one, Trump was the person who leveraged aid for political favors to the Ukrainians. So if he's willing to choose himself over Ukraine,
so that didn't count because they didn't actually do it.
But if he's willing to choose himself over the Ukrainians, that's an issue that could lead to Putin thinking, well, maybe I can make something beneficial for him that can make him abandon the Ukrainians. And secondly, he told European officials that if Europe was attacked, he wouldn't come to their defense. If Putin hears that from some meeting, from some leak, what message does that say about our deterrence in Europe? Not only in Ukraine or Moldova, but even in NATO states.
Yeah.
Also, who is the better politician? Because I think Putin has no problem picking up the phone and calling Trump and just schmoozing the fuck out of him.
True.
And I think Trump would love to hear that. Like, if you say good, positive, like, it would literally become a dick-sucking fest between, like, can Zelensky, can all the European leaders, or can, like, Putin give the best head to Trump in terms of convincing him, like, who he should support? Because literally, if you say a good thing about Trump, he will sing your praises from the rooftop. It's so great.
Defense Minister Shoigu gave a speech about what the plan is, how long they have to fight, and every time he says 2025.
Well, in like the Gaza war, a lot of people are saying that happened because Iran was scared that we were about to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And that's Biden. He was getting us super, super close to that. And so Hamas felt they had to do something to get attention back to the Palestinian cause. So it just drives me crazy when people say, if Trump was president, none of these problems would happen, and they get away with that. And Trump says it too. Nut job.
I feel like it's made a lot of people rethink the way they look at things, because if you look at in history, people have this debate over, was this event owed to personalities or structures, right? Was this because of financial incentives or like material conditions or anything like that, or was it because of just like the personality of whoever's in charge? And obviously, if you're in a monarchy, the personality is very important. If you're in a republic like America, usually like they try I think the American Constitution is supposed to be very much limiting powers of the executive branch. But then Trump comes in, and it's like the fact that these foreign policy decisions can just be made based on like how cold Trump's chicken nuggies were when they arrived that morning. It's really kind of shakes a lot of the historical structuralist views.
In some ways, the U.S. government is like structurally very slow, but in other ways, probably because we actually elect our head of state. The head of state in the United States does have a lot of power and leeway sometimes to influence like the direction of especially foreign policy, but a lot of domestic issues as well.
I think people realized how much power is in the executive branch when Trump took over. I mean, the tariffs were able to affect change in like global trade. I mean, things way beyond the United States. So I always say Trump is going to make America great again, but not the way he thinks. It's the swing back, because we learned a lot of lessons. He stress tested a lot of things, and I think we learn from that and we grow and we get better. But it's going to take a while.
We've already done certain reforms. For example, like the elector reform, where the electors have to vote with the choices of their constituents.
Yeah, I think we're going to be cycling and have some other content creators coming in at some point. So if we get a little chaotic here, that's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all exciting issues, man. I'm just happy to see people start to get real warmed up and excited about the election.
Have you looked at I haven't looked at the roadmap at all yet for the House and the Senate. Does it look favorable or
House
disfavorable?
looks really good. Now, there's an election on Tuesday, special election to replace George E. Santos. So all eyes are going to be on that.
Guy's still around.
No, he's gone.
I know. I looked at it, but I looked at it like 2 months ago. I thought that guy left like 2 years ago. When I first started, I was like, "There's no way he survived." I just wrote him off, and then I started hearing about it a few months ago. I'm like, "Wait, what?"
So the special election to replace him is on Tuesday.
Jewish, bro. That guy was a riot.
Yeah, he's not.
Bro,
well, he's never gonna
Republicans
go in.
play by a different rule book.
Yes.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
They're like the kids that you role play with when you're like 9, and they're like, "Yeah, actually, I'm invincible and I can fly and like I take back everything." It's actually unbelievable.
Yep.
Like riot balance designers. Yeah, bro. Republicans are wild.
Do you remember the final straw was for George Santos? There was the thing where, of course, he said his mom died on 9/11, and there was the other thing where, you know, the Jewish, and then he talked about all the jobs he didn't have and the schools he didn't go to and all of that. But the thing that was the final straw, when they were having the meeting about whether to dismiss him, one legislator stood up, and one of the new legislators, and he said, so Santos apparently took my credit card and maxed it out for his campaign funds and didn't ask us, and then he did it also to my wife, and I'm not the only person he did it to, he did it to other legislators as well, and then he took that money and spent it on gay foot porn.
He ripped off his own colleagues, like charging them, like people in the House with him. But that race is big, and we'll see what happens there. Like, control of the Senate is at stake right now. I mean, the House is kind of in question right now, too, even before the next session of Congress. But the Senate map, like I said, Joe Manchin is not running for re-election, and we have a 51-seat majority right now. So that brings us down to 50, because you assume the Republicans are going to win that seat. And so that's why seats like this in Ohio are so important with Sherrod Brown.
You don't think Paula Jean Swearengin going to take it?
No, I don't think a progressive's going to come in and just run on those progressive.
Oh, she's the one that got crushed by Manchin a couple years ago.
But I'm optimistic. Okay, we're going to take a break.
Wait, before we take a break, share your optimism, and then we'll take a break.
Well, okay, so...
Just be optimistic for a second. And on an optimistic note.
Real quickly, we have some tough races to defend, but I'm confident that we will. I feel like abortion is on our side. Trump sucks, and he's going to be at the top of the ticket, dragging them all down.
Look at the special election results. Special election results are fantastic for Democrats.
Boom.
If you look at 2020, 2022, people didn't think we were going to do that well. We smashed the red wave. Look at the election results. Polls are one thing. Results are everything.
And we did that with Biden having shitty poll numbers.
The what, like 30% approval after
Terrible.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, guys. We're break. Okay, we'll see you guys in a few.
Bye-bye. Stream. We are here in the Hype House in Ohio, and we have a special treat for you today. We're going to be speaking to a candidate running in Ohio about their race for office. We're going to highlight these local elections that are happening all across the state, either in your state, in Ohio, helping you guys get involved to show you the type of people that are running. We're going to now introduce this lovely person. Could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I am Alicia Rashong, and I'm running for the 89th District House of Representatives. I'm very excited about it. I have just started the campaigning journey. My opponent is an incumbent Republican, and actually another Republican has entered the race, and it's kind of an interesting story. He used to be the 89th District seat holder, and he was convicted and basically lost the seat. The person who replaced him is the current incumbent.
What was he convicted of?
Felony theft, I believe. I don't know a lot about the facts of it, but there's no. I mean, he's conceded to that fact because the incumbent did try to oust his candidacy, and the Ohio Supreme Court actually ruled that he was able to run, and it was based upon discretion of the Board of Elections. So there is a primary race for the Republican seat, and then I will be running against the victor of that seat.
I understand that there's been some redistricting, which makes this seat more competitive now?
Another interesting question. Absolutely. It has been really widespread and rampant in Ohio. And again, for this seat specifically, I don't know if you all, which I assume you will, Jim Obergefell was actually the prior candidate for this seat.
From the gay rights case, the Obergefell case, which helped make it so gay rights,
yes,
LGBT marriage was across the land in the United States, the Supreme Court case.
When I had coffee with him, it was funny. He was there to help me, but I was just in awe of him because I was like, you don't know what you did. You are one person who made a difference. People need to realize you as one person can make a difference. You've got to do it. You've got to have the strength to stand up and do it. Yeah. So I was just like, I had kind of like, as a lawyer, I had stars in my eyes. So
can I ask you what made you want to run for state house as opposed to something local?
I think it's really because of the situation and the status right now that's going on in Ohio. I mean, I was watching how it was developing. I mean, we all know what happened with issue 1. I mean, you have a vote, you have a victory. It's brought up again in November. You have a vote, you have a victory. Nobody seems to care what the voters are saying. To me, that means that the democratic system is not working. I finally, when I was approached, it took me about 15 minutes to say yes. And then after, thinking about it, I was like, absolutely, 100%, I am going to do this. Each one of my children, I have 4 kids. They're all out of the house now. They're all, adults. And they were like, Mom, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing this. How do you feel? And they were like, go for it. 100% behind you. So as long as you have your family behind you, I just felt it was something I absolutely had to do. I had to be a voice for actually the people that vote because nobody else is listening to them. So that was the main reason.
You have an extensive career as a litigator. I wanted to talk about with you that career you've had and specifically a lot of the class action suits you were involved in that I know many of them you're proud of.
Very. I've been practicing law for 32 plus years now, and I've always been a plaintiff's litigation attorney, which means we represent the little guy. If something happens, discrimination, you name it, we are there to protect people's rights and interests. I know we get a bad rap a lot of the times, but in some class action, there's 2. One is an environmental issue. I was one of the attorneys involved we actually sued a landfill company because of they're decimating the city of Fostoria. At least our allegations and assertions are that what they are doing violates EPA rules and regulations. And again, as the policing agent from a civil standpoint, all we can do is get to money. So we do it that way. And what we did, we crafted it so it was a nuisance case, and it was for the smell. I mean, this landfill has odor that goes miles and miles and miles. You know, the water tastes different. I have businesses there. I have a Dairy Queen that's there, and we have to buy a reverse osmosis, you know, system because I sell Mr. Misty's, and you know, we need to make sure it doesn't taste like a puddle out in your yard.
You're saying that it's so bad that you can taste it in the Dairy Queen products?
What we have, and I was just at a rally the other night about the landfill is trying to do an expansion, a double expansion. We actually are there fighting for it not to, because the EPA is what controls that. You know, as lawyers, you cannot govern the governmental body. So I was there to implore them, do your job. When you can see physical manifestations in your environment, and it's only happened over a couple of years, you know there's a problem. There is a problem, and you know they got to get to the bottom of it. And I mean, there were so many people at this meeting, and I mean, people are desperate. I mean, people are getting sick. You know, that causal connection is very difficult legally to connect. But you know, eventually over time, I think you're going to see patterns, and it is scary. There's a lot of people that have got up and smoked that have cancer, and you know those kind of things that just seem not in the normal. You know what I mean? If you're looking at statistics, not normal. So those are the kind of things that we go after. You brought up the opioid issue.
Yeah, before the conversation, we were talking about opioids. You know, I've lost my mother to drug addiction. I know many people have lost family members to drug addiction. The opioid crisis is ravaging this country. If you were to get elected in the state of Ohio, what is some things that you and other legislators could do to try to save the lives of Ohioans?
I mean, really, you have to legislate for stronger requirements for doctors, and it is happening. And I believe that we kind of started that with our march that we did against, everybody knows about right now about the opioid litigation. And what we targeted in that part of that litigation was to go after them, to sue them on behalf of municipalities because of the cost that people, that these cities are paying for, you know, more police, Narcan, I mean, EMT, you know, all the visits. I mean, it goes so many places that you don't even recognize or understand what it is affecting. It doesn't just, you know, absolutely, it's heart-wrenching for the individuals because it is affecting everybody, and it does not discriminate. I mean, there is no question that this drug does not discriminate. So it is terrifying and it is scary. But we as litigators, you know what I mean, try to police it however we can legally get in the door. And doing it that way was, you know, how we did it. And we are right now wrapping up. And I'm a very minor player. What I do is I recognize what might be a class action, and I take it to some real heavy hitters. And, you know, I get to be on board. But I'm very proud of what we're doing in trying to make a difference. And I do think as a legislator, you have to recognize the problems. You have to sit down with your committees and try to figure out ways to tighten things up and to make even like healthcare more accessible for people who have the problems and things like that.
That you bring up an interesting point about coming together with people. You're going to have to work with people on the other side of the aisle. So how do you go about that? You're going to become a member. You're trying to become a member of a legislative body, and you have to work with people that you disagree with wholeheartedly. So how do you approach that?
It's kind of like how you would approach any negotiation. You have to go in, first of all, you have to go in with an open mind. You cannot sit down, and I think what's happening right now, and also why I am so passionate, you can't sit down and just say it's my way and it's my way and walk away from the table, and that's all that's happening. And you have to be able to sit down with something reasonable, something that each side might not be ecstatic about at the end, but you have come to some terms that everybody can live with and that is a reasonable answer. So everybody has to have a little bit of give and take, and I'm hoping that, you know, just having, you know, a reasonable approach can at least start the conversation. So that is, you know, what I am hoping to bring to the table. I really am.
It just seems like our national politicians are in their camps, and they're not interested in working with each other, but we can seem to accomplish something on a local level where the states have taken over since the federal government has failed so miserably to solve our problems. So really the onus is on our state lawmakers now to get together and try to fix this, solve problems like the opioid crisis.
Right, and I agree with you completely. I do think you know, a lot of lay people don't realize how important their legislators are.
Right.
They're the ones who truly are affecting your day-to-day life.
Right.
They create the laws. You vote on them. We have to make sure that what they vote on, you know, remains to be what the people have said, and we do have to go by the vote, but I think that we absolutely have to, you know, we have to start working together. We have to be able to get the job done, because the states are now experiencing more and more, you know, they're kicking things back to the states, and when they do that, you have to, you know, you have to stand up and be able to accommodate. I keep saying that politics, they're fluid. You know, everybody changes as time goes on. You know, years ago I was a Republican. I was an R. I was elected the first time as an R. It has changed. It has evolved. I am a firm believer that when you're, you know, when everything changes, you have to change with it. You have to evolve. You cannot stand where you were at.
Can I ask you what made you evolve from the Republican Party to now be a Democrat?
I think it was the human rights element to everything. And I'm not saying I haven't voted, you know what I mean? I've changed because your primary votes change, and I always vote for the person who's going to represent my area. And but it's really the human element. I mean, we have to represent human beings. That's the most important thing. Is every citizen of the United States of America. We have to be able to support them and their interests on an equal basis. And I've seen things change, though, on a national level. You don't hear people talk about, like you did, the president's idea on balancing the budget. Have you even heard those issues brought up anymore? I mean, they're human issues that are now brought up, and I feel like right now we have Big Brother breathing down our throats, and that's not what that party used to be. And I feel like it is turned, and you know, I am vigilant at where I'm at. I believe in where the Democratic Party is. I think we have to be stronger on some issues. I think our voice has to be louder.
Well,
but we
what
have to
issues do you
protect.
think the Democratic Party needs to be stronger on?
Oh, I think that there's a multitude of things. I think that they're great on the human side of really advocating for people. It's kind of all the other issues that go into it, like national security, you know, economics, those kind of things. I do think that we just have to maybe be a little more united, but be strong. Our voice needs to be strong and loud, and I think that we can get to where we need to be.
Do you see a demand for bipartisanship in the state of Ohio? I know on a national level, it feels like there's a little bit, but doesn't seem to be catching on much. But here in the state of Ohio, where you have a Democratic senator, a Republican senator, it seems like there's a little bit more sharing of governing. Do you see like hope for bipartisanship in this state?
I'm hopeful. So I'm always hopeful. I'm hopeful with every election. I'm hopeful. You know, you have to be that way, and then again, you adapt, you accommodate to what comes at you, and things are fluid, things change, but the polarity right now is horrific.
Do you see like that as being a priority for you to bring down the temperature, or more to advance ideas?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I would like to be that person who can deliver both.
Right.
And again, my proponents keep saying, Alicia, you're the voice of reason. You know, again, I'm a mom of 4. I'm a business owner. I'm middle class America. You know, I speak for what I believe is the silent majority. So the people who just kind of watch from, you know, and
So you're not on Twitter raging and stuff?
well, I am embarrassed to say, if you look at my Twitter account, and all of my accounts are Rochon for Ohio, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, on my website, it's all Rochon for Ohio. No, it's not real in depth. So you're not going to be real impressed with my social media presence, but I'm trying. I'm really trying, and I'm very new to the campaign. So we're getting there. We're getting our voice out, and you know, again, I'm hoping to advance a little bit on that. I do have my kids who help me with that.
Last election season, there were 2 referendums that passed in Ohio about legalization of marijuana and a woman's right to choose. But after the results of those elections, there was a push by certain Republican legislators to try to overturn the results of those referendums saying, well, they may have won, but it should have been by a larger margin, and they wanted to change the results. How, as a Democrat, are you going to protect those victories since the referendum, seemingly for some Republicans, was not enough?
What you have to do a lot of times is through litigation. And again, I hate that lawyers have to be the policing agent, but if you look at even what happened in the trans bill, now you have the ACLU going after because the governor, vetoed, and then we had the reversals. So sometimes litigators have to be the watchdog. Sometimes you have to use that, to support your position, because it was in court, and the Ohio Supreme Court actually kicked it back to, I believe, the Court of Appeals on that exact issue. And you just have to, every avenue that you can get at, but once it already went through the amendment, the amendment was adopted, but now they're trying to change the law. You can't legislate things that are unconstitutional, but if it gets passed, then it's the lawyers who have to deal with it, and that is how it happens.
What do you think about propositions in general? It seems like there's some criticism, like in California, where I'm from, we've had a lot of big money pour in and try to change some of the rules by circumventing the state legislature. Do you, in general, support propositions? Or I don't know what they're called in Ohio. Referendum.
Referendums, yes.
Not particularly.
Interesting.
So,
leave it to the state legislators.
I know that a lot of
they're the
people were
ones-
very upset about how confusing they tried to purposely make the referendum questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because originally they tried to raise the threshold, and that was kind of a gambit that they used, from what I understand.
This is something else that I'm very passionate about, is keeping things transparent. Everything tries to get buried and hidden, and it happens all the time. After a vote, how many times has this happened when a bill is passed, and then they're like, well, I didn't know that I voted on that. I didn't know that was in there, because things are hidden a lot. So I think it is important and imperative for all legislators to be very transparent, and also be able to describe exactly what the voters are voting on, and to let their voice be heard. But in order for their voice to be heard, they have to know what they're voting on.
Yeah.
So it's a circular argument,
right?
But we still have to be mindful of what's happening and do what we can as the voice to make sure that everybody is heard appropriately.
Cool.
And so that's kind of where I'm
Well,
at.
I think we're wrapping this up.
Okay.
So I really appreciate you coming on here and chat with us. We don't get to talk to elected or people running for office.
Running, yes.
Yeah, and so it's
Not
really a treat.
official yet.
No, because
Thank
for
you.
me, you're like the ultimate activist, that you're taking it to elected office. So I really appreciate you coming on here and chat with us.
I thank you. Again, I'm really honored to be here. I think what you're doing is fantastic. Seeing so many young people mobilized. Politicians couldn't get this many people out.
No.
I am telling you right now, it would not happen, because we go to a lot of events, but I've not seen an organized event like this. So kudos to you all, and keep it up. You guys are all from all over the country.
Yeah.
So go state by state by state. Keep sending the message, because it's important.
Yeah.
So we're glad you're here.
Thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Fantastic.